Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya. Woo! It's time. It's time to rock out. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa. I'm going to read a little bit about Kṛṣṇa, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in the summary study of the Bhagavatam by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Jai. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Hare Kṛṣṇa. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa. It's time. Yeah, it's time. Oh my goodness. Hare Bhagavans. Hare Kṛṣṇa. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Boy, there's so many advantages to being outside society. So many advantages. Like, Hare Kṛṣṇa. Like freedom from the influence of the three modes of material nature. Because if you look at the way society is structured, Kṛṣṇa explains in the Gita that these are natural divisions: the Brahmin, the Kshatriya, the Vaishya, and the Sudra, and they're associated with different modes. The Brahmin associated with the mode of goodness, the Kshatriya with the mode of passion, the Vaishya with the mode of passion mixed with ignorance, and then the Sudra, the mode of ignorance. So to be outside society means to be outside the influence of the three modes of material nature. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa. Now that's outside the influence of. We were just reading the other day how, I think it was Nectar of Instruction, that there's two types of activities the living entity has that's in this material situation. One is duties according to how they're situated in life, which means society, duties and responsibilities. And then the other type of activity is devotional activity. And devotional activity is hearing and chanting, remembering, offering prayers, worshiping, making friends with, carrying out the orders, and giving everything they have for the service of the Lord. So, hearing and chanting. So sometimes what a person does in life, those types of activities, they go along nicely and easily along with devotional activities. And so a devotee could be found in any part of society engaging in activities that are associated with the modes. But they're chanting Hare Kṛṣṇa, they're remembering Kṛṣṇa, they're serving Kṛṣṇa, they're worshiping Kṛṣṇa, they're making offerings to Kṛṣṇa, offering the food to Kṛṣṇa. In that way, it goes together nicely. Sometimes it doesn't. Hare Kṛṣṇa, sometimes a devotee might find themselves outside society, and in that situation their only recourse is to just completely take shelter of devotional service. Hare Kṛṣṇa, which is kind of like what happens when a person gets older. It happens anyway, and that's why according to the divisions of how a person lives, student, household life, Vāṇaprastha, and sannyas. So after the person gets some training, then they go into household life with working, making money, producing a family. And then as they get older and the family is on its own, the birds are out of the nest, then they go on pilgrimage and they become less part of, more freed up from the modes, influence of the modes, in preparing for leaving the body. Hare Krishna. So that happens anyway, naturally, to one degree or another, for people. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Hare. It even happens to those that are not familiar with the teachings of the Vedas or the Hare Krishna movement, because these are natural divisions that exist anyway. For those who are getting knowledge from the Vedas about Krishna, Krishna says, I am what is to be known by all the Vedas. So they're getting this knowledge of how things work. If you don't know how things work, you're fear motivated, because you're walking around in the dark. If there's no light, you're walking around in the dark, it's a very fearful place, because you might bump into something and it could cause pain. Or you could inconvenience others without meaning to, because you're in the dark. Because you don't have, so not having this knowledge of how things work, materially as well as spiritually, then is a very fearful condition. But if you know how things work, you understand about the three modes of material nature. That's why Krishna says in the Gita, the one who understands how these modes work, they're free from, they can become free from the influence of them. When you know how they work, then you don't act out of fear, you act out of knowledge. Like recently, I was driving with someone who we had a little discussion about, they're very fearful, very, very fearful of driving. And they're like completely skittish. And so we were talking about something, and it came up that, well, the reason you don't go through a red light is because you're afraid you'll get hit by another car. No, that's not the reason I don't go through a red light. I don't go through a red light because I know how the system works. It's there to regulate activity. So I know how it works. I don't act out of fear. I act out of knowledge. So that helped me to kind of see the difference in how people follow rules. They follow rules out of fear. No, it's not out of fear of punishment. That goes away when you understand about how the system works. It's like having a user manual. Yeah, there's a lot of fear. If you don't know how electricity works, you can get electrocuted trying to fix a refrigerator or something. But if you have the manual, and it explains, it's got the schematic diagrams, and explains this wire, that wire, the red wire, the black wire, the green wire. It's not, you don't act out of fear, you've got knowledge. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. And with that comes, you have knowledge, and the fear goes away. Then you can experience other emotions, like thankfulness, appreciation, kindness, compassion, and love. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. If I look into the darkness, all I see is darkness. And, ooh. So why look into the darkness? Don't look in the darkness. What are you going to find in the darkness? What are you going to find in the ignorance? You're not going to find anything except fear. Hare Kṛṣṇa. Fear of everything. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. What was it? I think a very wealthy man, Howard Hughes, like the man that made a fortune with the Playboy bunnies, Playboy penthouse club, exclusive club, women dressed in skimpy clothes wearing rabbit ears, Playboy. Hey Krishna. From what I understand is that toward the end of his life he became very fearful of everything, especially germs. And he wouldn't go anywhere. He wore a mask all the time. He was always washing his hands, sanitizing everything. He was living in a very exclusive, expensive building on the top floor, and he had everything imaginable because he had so much money. But he was fearful. He didn't have peace of mind. He didn't understand how things work. And intuitively, he must have understood that he had some heavy-duty reactions coming for all his Playboy stuff. He was headed for, in the darkness, a lot of reactions. Because also encouraging others to engage in nescient activities. So he was providing those nescient activities for others and putting them in darkness more and more. So, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa. He didn't understand how things work. And he became fearful, extremely fearful, even though he was like totally successful with money. He had all the money you could imagine. He was living in constant fear. Hare Kṛṣṇa. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. A devotee is fearless. Why? Because they know how things work. Hare Kṛṣṇa. Materially as well as spiritually. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare. They have knowledge. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa. It's said that a devotee actually gets the mercy of Krishna and surrenders. Krishna comes and shakes his hand. Congratulations. Why? Why does someone shake someone else's hand? To congratulate them. Congratulations. Krishna shakes you. Congratulations. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Let me see if I can read these comments. The print is really small. Okay. Howard, hey Jocelyn, Hare Krishna. Howard Hughes owned Hughes too. Was on top floor in Acapulco. Didn't know Hughes was there, but I sure felt I was being watched. That was the Princess Hotel. Wow, so you were in close proximity. Oh, interesting. You could feel his bad energy, his bad vibes were leaking out all over the place. Oh, Krishna. Oh, Krishna. Krishna Chaitanya. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Prabhupada said, He came, it was an emergency, and he did whatever he had to do because it was an emergency. So I don't know if this poor man got, anything Krishna conscious. Maybe he got some little tiny thing. Maybe he was maybe he was driving in his limo and they passed a Harinam party or something. We can only hope, Because a little goes a long way. It goes a long way in Krishna. Because it's so powerful, so potent, a little goes a long way. It can take a while for it to take effect, but it's like infecting a disease. Oh, did I say that? Are they going to take me off of Facebook? I said infecting a disease. Oh, quiet down. Kṛṣṇa, sing me a song. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa. Thank you. But that little clock is so faithful. Every hour he does his service like clockwork. It's so dependable. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Kṛṣṇa. He's serving Krishna. Because Krishna says, time I am, right? He's serving time and announcing every hour. I think church bells ring, right? Every hour, or it used to be, in the steeple, every hour, the church bells. And I think Prabhupada asked for that to be done in Vrindavan, that there should be someone that kept watch, and every hour they would ring the bell. I think he asked for that and made some kind of comment like he knew the movement would be successful if that went on every hour. I don't know if they're doing it or not. Something like that. I vaguely remember hearing about ringing the bells in Krishna Bāṇāsura temple. Well, we've got a battery-powered servant over here. He's not ringing a bell, but he's going cuckoo every hour. So, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. People are threatened by Krishna. They feel threatened. Yeah, even devotees. Sometimes I wonder if some devotees, they even believe in Krishna at all. But everyone's practicing at all different levels, so. What is it? In Nectar of Instruction, they offer all respects within the mind to someone who is practicing the chanting. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I got my bags packed. I'm ready to go, so. Krishna's given me a situation here that is really kind of nice. I don't know how long it'll last, but for now. And so I'm appreciative. Thank you. And I can hear and chant. And we'll just deal with things as they come on a day-to-day basis. Actually, it's a moment-to-moment basis. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa. And it says, fear gets in the way of love of God. Yes, it does. Because when there's fear, other emotions are not available. It covers everything. If there's fear, that's all there is fear. Hate is like that also. Fear and hate go together. Anger, fear and anger and hate, they all go together. And they block everything. Fear, but fear comes from lack of knowledge. Don't have real knowledge. It's not realized knowledge. It may be accepting the teachings and accepting everything kind of on an intellectual platform. Intellectually, we accept that. that that knowledge is true. But not entering into it, because it's spirit and truth. It's not just truth or knowledge. It's spirit and truth. It's Radha and Kṛṣṇa. It's devotion and God. So entering into the spirit. So what is the nature of that spirit? The spirit is filled with fear. There's no room for anything else. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa. Fear of what? What are they afraid of? Not being in control. They have knowledge, and they want to use the knowledge. They want to be in control. They, who's they? Me. We all deal with it. They or them over there. No, it's all of us. We're all in the same boat. But it's spirit and knowledge, spirit and truth, devotion. What is the quality of that devotion? Yeah, spirit. Spirit of love. Hare Kṛṣṇa. There's no room for fear of God. That's like Prahlad Maharaj, little 5-year-old boy, being tormented by his demoniac father. Prahlad's a pure devotee of the Lord, and his father couldn't stand the idea that his son actually loved God. I mean, no way. Not my son. Where did he come from? Who poisoned him? What? He became very angry and tried to kill his son, actually, in many different ways. Destroy him, get rid of him. Why? Because Prahlad was connected to God through the spirit of devotion. And wherever Prahlad went, Kṛṣṇa went. So, and Hiranyakashipu couldn't stand it. So Lord Nrsimhadev, Kṛṣṇa appeared as Lord Nrsimhadev to protect his devotee. And Hiranyakashipu in his anger. So where's your God? Where is he? Is he over here? Yes, Father. Is he over there? Yes, Father, he's everywhere. Is he in this pillar? Yes, Father, he's in the pillar. Well, then I'll kill him. And smashed with all his might one of the pillars in his own. It was his own palace, his own mansion. He smashed the pillar to his own shelter. Sure enough, Shingadev was there. Kṛṣṇa was there. And he came up in a very angry mood, in a form half lion, half man, roaring in furious rage. How dare you? How dare you, you little bug, you little insect? How dare you torture my devotee who I love so much? How dare you? Rah! Just tore him apart. Put him on his lap, tore him right apart. Like a little bug. Just finished. But Nrsimha's anger did not subside. He was still roaring in anger. The whole universe was trembling from this rage. The demigods came, they couldn't do anything. Brahma couldn't, he's offering prayers, and he couldn't calm him down. Could not calm him down. And then there's Prahlad. So they said, Prahlad, you do something, Prahlad. He's furious. Do something. Go. He's 5 years old, the pure devotee of the Lord. And when Nrsimha was in the presence of Prahlad, all right. Okay. He's got what it takes to control me. He has that pure love. Okay, you calm down, my devotee Prahlad, my dear sweet devotee Prahlad. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shivasati Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Yeah, when there's anger and rage and fear, there's no room for anything else. That's all there is. And Krishna showed that perfectly when he appeared as Nrsimhadev. Nobody could calm him down, not the demigods, nobody, Brahma, Shiva, no one could calm him down. Except for Prahlad. Krishna. Yeah, Prabhupada, he could have given us mantras to different incarnations of Vishnu. There's Matsya, there's Kurma, there's Haladar, there's Buddha, there's all different, many different incarnations, Vishnu forms, and there's mantras and prayers to all of them. He could have given us any of those to focus on, but he gave us the prayers to Nrsimhadev. Krishna. You know, late at night, devotees walk by Prabhupada's room. He used to translate, especially the Krishna book, and write his commentaries, and late at night, when everyone was sleeping. But at one point, some devotees walked by his door late at night, and he saw it. He was in there, and he was smiling and laughing, and he was reading Krishna book. Smiling and laughing and reading. He was really enjoying Krishna book. And he saw them, and he said, I didn't write this book. Krishna wrote it. I didn't write this. Krishna. In other words, Krishna was dictating to him. Krishna dictated to him. And he was writing in ecstasy. What Krishna was downloading to him, he was writing in ecstasy. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. All right. Let's read the Krishna book already. We're getting there. Oh God. Someday before I die, let's read here. Okay, so we're reading Lord Krishna's fights. Lord Krishna fights with Bāṇāsura, and Lord Shiva, in order to protect his surrendered devotee Bāṇāsura, sent forth the Shivajvara, which is scorching heat. And it's the same Shivajvara that comes at the end of the destruction of the universe. It's a very, very powerful heat force. It burns everything up. So to counteract that, Krishna released his Narayana-jvara, which is excessive cold. And when there's cold, heat is diminished. And so the heat was Shivajvara. These are personalities with these potencies. Was feeling like he better surrender. So he did, and he offered some beautiful prayers. He had great realizations. And then, he was relieved of being destroyed by Narayana-jvara. So then, Lord Shiva Krishna gives a Shivajvara a benediction after his prayers. There's no more suffering for you from the Narayana-jvara. Well, there may be other suffering, but not the Narayana-jvara. Not only are you now free from her, but anyone in the future who simply recollects this fight between Shivajvara and Narayana-jvara will also be freed from all kinds of fearfulness. Then the Shivajrara offered his respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of the Lord and left. In the meantime, Bāṇāsura somehow or other recovered from his setbacks and with rejuvenated energy returned to the fight. He lost all his army. All his weapons were destroyed. He had 1,000 arms given to him by Shiva. And even this last-ditch effort, releasing this, what did he release? No, it wasn't him. Even seeing Lord Shiva, Shiva's ultimate weapon, the Shivajrara, being defeated by Kṛṣṇa, didn't stop him. He just became more and more angry. This time, Bāṇāsura appeared before Lord Kṛṣṇa, who was seated on his chariot with different kinds of weapons in his 1,000 hands. Bāṇāsura was very much agitated. He began to splash his different weapons like torrents of rain upon the body of Lord Kṛṣṇa. When Lord Kṛṣṇa saw the weapons of Bāṇāsura coming at him, like water coming out of a strainer, he took his sharp-edged Sudarshan disc and began to cut off the demon's 1,000 hands, one after another, just like a gardener trims the twigs of a tree with sharp cutters. But that felt good, right? When Lord Shiva saw that his devotee Bāṇāsura could not be saved, even in his presence, he came to his senses and personally came before Lord Kṛṣṇa and began to pacify him by offering the following prayers. So, Lord Shiva had felt obligated to Bāṇāsura to give him benedictions and to protect him because of Bāṇāsura's worship. Bāṇāsura had worshipped Lord Shiva very, very devoutly, very intensely. So he felt obligated to protect his devotee, even to the point of fighting with Kṛṣṇa, even though he's the greatest Vaishnava. We see that sometimes, like Jambavan also. He was a great devotee of Lord Ramachandra, but because of the Shamantaka jewel, he ended up fighting with Kṛṣṇa until he realized who he was fighting with and came to his senses. So, same thing here with Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva said, "My dear Lord, you are the worshipful object of the Vedic hymns. One who does not know you considers the impersonal Brahmajyoti to be the ultimate, supreme, absolute truth without any knowledge that you are existing behind your spiritual effulgence in your eternal abode. My dear Lord, you are therefore called Parambrahman. This word Parambrahman has been used in Bhagavad Gita to identify you. Parambrahman. So Kṛṣṇa is described here as existing behind the spiritual effulgence. In another place, I was reading the other day how there are two aspects to Brahman. There's the impersonal aspect, which permeates everything. But behind that, and the source of it, is the differentiated Brahman, the personality of Godhead with his multifarious, unlimited spiritual potencies, resting on Brahman. So sometimes people get to that point of everything is Brahman, but they can't access the source of the Brahman. They think it's just Brahman, nothing, no source. No, there's a source. A conscious being. And this is the Param Brahman. Saintly persons who have completely cleansed their hearts of all material contamination can realize your transcendental form, although you are all-pervading like the sky, unaffected by any material thing. So that's his all-pervading nature, but he has transcendental form also. Only the devotees can realize you, no one else. In the impersonalist's conception of your supreme existence, the sky is just like your navel, the fire is your mouth, the water is your semen, the heavenly planets are your head, all the directions are your ears, the earthy planet is your lotus feet, and the moon is your mind, and the sun is your eye. So that's the universal form. It's actually an imaginary form. It's like a superimposed way of seeing these things with Krishna. It's like superimposed. It's imaginary. It's real in the sense that everything about Krishna is absolute. But it's also imaginary. Just like the illusory energy is real, but it's not what it appears to be. As far as I am concerned, I act as your ego. This is Lord Shiva speaking about himself. I act as your ego. So he's seeing himself in this universal form. He's the ego. The ocean is your abdomen, and the king of heaven, Indra, is your arm. Trees and plants are the hairs of your body. The cloud is the hair on your head, and Lord Brahma is your intelligence. All the great progenitors, known as Prajapatis, are your symbolic representatives. And religion is your heart. The impersonal feature of your supreme body is conceived of in this way, but you are ultimately the supreme person. The impersonal feature of your supreme body is only a small expansion of your energy. You are likened to the original fire, and the expansions are your light and heat. Hare Krishna, Krishna. So it's an imaginary form. Lord Shiva continued, My dear Lord, although you are manifested universally, different parts of the universe are different parts of your body, and by your inconceivable potency, you can simultaneously be both localized and universal. In the Brahma Samhita, we also find it stated that, although you always remain in your abode, Goloka, Vrindavan, you are nevertheless present everywhere. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, you appear to protect the devotees, which indicates good fortune for all the universe. All of the demigods are directly different affairs of the universe by your grace. Oh, they're directing. All the demigods are directing different affairs of the universe by your grace only. Thus, the 7 upper planetary systems are being maintained by your grace. Okay, so following the train of thought here, they're not disconnected statements. There's a train of thought. So, yeah, I mean, it's like, you can simultaneously be localized and universal. In Brahma Samhita, this is Prabhupada, we also find it stated that although you always remain in your abode, Goloka Vrindavan, it's interesting. Lord Shiva is quoting the Brahma Samhita. Okay, whatever. Sometimes it's hard to tell who's speaking here, whether it's still Lord Shiva or whether it's Prabhupada's purport. But, okay. So Lord Shiva is speaking. He says, you can simultaneously be localized and universal. In the Brahma Samhita, we also find it stated that although you always remain in your abode, Goloka Vrindavan, you are nevertheless present everywhere. So Lord Shiva is quoting Brahma Samhita, and now he quotes the Bhagavad Gita. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, you appear to protect the devotees, which indicates good fortune for all the universe. Well, I'd like to see the actual Sanskrit first, or if this is just kind of Prabhupada doing a purporty thing. I don't know, it's interesting that Lord Shiva is quoting the Brahma Samhita, and then he's quoting the Bhagavad Gita. Okay, all of the demigods are directing different affairs of the universe by your grace only. So, yeah. Thus, the 7 upper planetary systems are being maintained by your grace. At the end of this creation, all manifestations of your energy, whether in the shape of demigods, human beings, or lower animals, enter into you, and all immediate and remote causes of cosmic manifestation rest in you without distinct features of existence. Ultimately, there's no possibility of distinction between yourself and any other thing on an equal level with you or subordinate